This is the Bible Show. Welcome, folks, to another episode of the Bible Show. My name is Sam. Joining me is Will, and we are continuing our series in Genesis. And today we're going to knock down 2 chapters and 1 episode, partly because in the chapter 46, there's a long genealogy, which I got nothing for. So we're going to do chapter 45 and 46 if you're following with us in your Bibles. And today we get some resolution.
It's finally the moment. We've been waiting for this for like 12 weeks.
So all of the suffering, everything that they've gone through, you see how God is weaving it all together to this really, really beautiful moment where you see reconciliation and healing come to this family at long last. So just to kind of summarize where we were, we're not going to do the big long review, but in this story, you have Joseph who's been betrayed down to Egypt. The brothers get sent down to Egypt to get grain. He does this whole thing where he keeps Simeon in jail, sends them back with grain, but they have silver money in their sacks. And so when they get back, the dad is like, Jacob's like, why do you have this money? Did you betray your brother? Like, what's going on? And he does not want to allow them to take Benjamin, which is Joseph's only request, right? Like, I want to make sure my other brother's still alive. They don't know it's Joseph. He's just an Egyptian official. Eventually, when they run out of food and they have no other option, Jacob says, okay, you can have Benjamin. And if he dies, he dies. Like, I'm just going to live the rest of my life in mourning. They go back. Joseph hosts them really wonderful. Then he engineers this thing where as they're going back with tons of grain and supplies, he puts the silver cup in Benjamin's sack. And then at the end of the chapter, you find out that Judah is a transformed human being.
Yeah.
He's been saying all the right stuff. Like, I'll give my life for Benjamin, Dad. You can trust me with him. But here at the end, when it's like Joseph, who they still don't know as Joseph, is saying, your brother Benjamin, who they have never liked, presumably, has been caught stealing my cup. He's going into slavery here. Y'all go home. And Judah makes good on his word at the end of Genesis 44, and he says, now therefore, please let your servant remain instead of the boy as a servant to my Lord. In other words, like, let me be your slave. Let him go. I'll give my life for him. Let the boy go back to his brothers, or let the boy go back with his brothers. For how can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? I fear to see the evil that would find my father.
It is wild how much Judah cares about his dad in this too.
Right?
You can really feel like I'm not just sacrificing for Benjamin, but this would literally destroy my dad. And of all the hard times we've had, because Judah has had a lot of issues with his dad.
Yeah.
So for him finally at the end of his life to say, hey, I love my father enough not to let this happen for his sake.
Even though my father has spoken so dismissively of me and the rest of my brothers.
Yeah, he sent us down to Egypt.
Yeah.
As
because my only remaining son is Benjamin. And yet Judah still cares. And so he emerges as this incredible Christ-like figure. This is where it's like, okay, this makes sense. He's the Christ-like one. The line of Jesus comes through him. So we jump into chapter 45. They're back. He's just heard Judah say this, like, I love Benjamin, right? Because Joseph's thinking, I'm surprised, 1, that you haven't killed Benjamin.
Yeah.
But 2, I'm not going to trust you to even take Benjamin back with you.
he's safer with me in Egypt and then go back home with you, because who knows what happens when dad dies.
That's right. So then he hears Judah say, I'll lay down my life for my brother and my dad, which Joseph's never seen that side of them. And that's where we pick up in verse 1. It says, Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, make everyone go out from me. So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers, and he wept aloud so that the Egyptians heard it, and all the household of Pharaoh heard it. Like, so this isn't...
This is a wailing.
This is wailing. Like, of all the weeping that you see Joseph, 7 times in the story where he's going to weep, it's like this one is the one that seems the most intense. Like, he sees Benjamin, his beloved brother, who's the same mother that he's been worried about for all these years. He sees Benjamin, he weeps.
He has to walk away.
Yeah, he's got to walk away. This one, like, everybody in all of the Egyptian household is like, what in the world is going on? Like, he is weeping and sobbing.
Yeah, this is decades of pain coming out.
Which is, it's decades of pain, but it's like, when he sees Benjamin, he's like, oh, my brother is alive. When he hears this come out of Judah's mouth, it's like, my brother's been born again.
He's been transformed.
He's been transformed. Like, look at this is a totally different guy. Like I might get all of my brothers back. And this harbored, animosity and question and everything else that he has squashed and he's forgiven and everything else. Now he's realizing that restoration's a real possibility. Like, probably not even restoration. They've never had a good relationship. Like, I'm finally going to have my brothers. My family's going to be made right. The God has worked through all this. All of that emotion overwhelms him. And so, like, imagine if you're the brothers in this moment, because remember, Joseph has only spoken Egyptian. Right? He's always used a translator. So they have no idea what's happening. All of a sudden, Joseph's talking Egyptian. Everybody's leaving. This guy is sobbing and wailing and going on. And you're like, what in the world? Like, if you're the brother, what are you thinking right now?
It could go tragically differently.
It's like, well, I don't know, but you seem emotionally unwell.
Yeah, like something's wrong.
Yeah, like this is really, really bad. But Joseph, all of a sudden, it says in verse 3, and Joseph said to his brothers, I'm Joseph. Is my father still alive? Now, why does Joseph remove everyone from the room as he made himself known to his brothers? Well, like, when your brain, what do you think? I tried to think of this through different options.
I would think it's a private moment with my brothers. Like, this is a family moment.
Yeah. So this is a private moment. He's also trying to protect his dignity. Like, if you get ugly cry and you got like the snot, everything else, like maybe he wants to remove them to protect his dignity. Maybe he's showing himself vulnerable to his brothers. Like, I'm removing all the show of force and power and all the people that are here to protect me. They're all being dismissed. Maybe it's that, he doesn't want to be seen as weakened in front of the Egyptians, because he's probably going to take off all the royal regalia and everything else and be like, hey, I'm Joseph. So basically, like, let me get rid of this.
And it's different feeding Hebrews, but like becoming one with Hebrews in this from an Egyptian standpoint is probably a no-go.
That's exactly right.
Pharaoh's going to be very decent to these people, but it's only because he cares about Joseph, and Joseph's word has a lot of sway right now.
That's right. So yeah, remember back when they had the banquet, to what you were saying, like it says when they ate, Joseph had to be separate because it was detestable for the Egyptians to be with these foreigners. And so now Joseph's like, everyone get out. I want to be alone with them. So there's like a show of intimacy here. There's one commentary. This is pretty wild. Ready for a wild hot take?
I am.
One commentary says that this was so he could show them the circumcision. Like, that's an ancient commentary.
Wild, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
If our people group is defined by circumcision, then there's one.
And Egyptian priests would have been circumcised, but not royalty or royal officials. So that would have been like, hey, I really am. I'm not faking this one. But then I think there's two things that jump out to me as the most compelling. One is what you said. This is a private moment that I've been wanting for decades that's now coming true. I want this just with us. But then the other one is he never... And you're going to see this as the story unfolds. Pharaoh is totally ignorant that his brothers are wicked. All these officials, Joseph is like, okay, y'all go away. And he doesn't want to have this reconciliation moment where they're going to rehearse everything that's happened in front of them. Because what would happen if Pharaoh knew that they had sold Joseph and betrayed Joseph? What if all the officials knew these guys are wicked and they can't be trusted?
Yeah, one, they'd probably personally offended for Joseph's sake. Like, Pharaoh's like, this is my guy. You hurt this guy, you're out. But second, like, they're going to have to live with him.
That's right. Pharaoh would never trust them.
Yeah, who would want a bunch of wicked guys in their city?
So now, like, think about how you apply that sort of godliness to your life. That when somebody has trashed you, you don't go and publicly trash them for their own sake. Right? Like, I'm so bad at this. Like, right? Because when someone hurts me, like, I need to confide and I need to be like, that person's the problem. Joseph is there, suffered greatly, been through the ringer, and nobody knows that his brothers are evil. Nobody knows his brothers are the reason for all his suffering, because he's protected them all along the way, even as he's suffered through it.
Yeah, I guess that is true.
Which is just, this guy is so godly.
Yeah, protecting someone's reputation's crazy.
Who's harmed you.
Yeah.
That's godly, though.
And we're talking publicly. Like, there is, you kind of said confide, so I didn't want to confuse you. Like, I am allowed to confide with people I trust privately on matters that are affecting me.
You have to. You should, absolutely.
Yeah, bear one another's burdens. That's one of those things. But like you said, publicly, he's not going to acknowledge them from his position of power to the other ranking Egyptians.
Part of forgiveness is hoping for the other person's redemption. It's wanting their good. And one of the ways that you should want their good is by trying not to destroy them any more than they need to be destroyed. So like if it's justice in the courts and you're testifying, that's great. You absolutely. But you shouldn't go on public crusades to smear the person, right? That's more what I'm talking about, which is really hard. It's hard to hold your tongue, especially in the social media age where it's like you can immediately scorch someone worldwide. And that sticks, that lasts around. So when the brothers hear this, I'm guessing when they hear the words come out of his mouth, everybody's sent out of the room and he says, I am Joseph. I don't know that they heard anything else. Like you're just in utter shock in that moment. You're totally terrified. You've been convinced that Joseph's dead all these years and all of a sudden your brother's standing alive in front of you. Like, I mean, in a sense, this is a resurrection moment and they have to be thinking, we thought God was going to punish us for what we did. Now here's Joseph, who is the second most powerful man in Egypt, who's standing in front of us. Maybe God's, maybe God's going to use him, and this is going to be our punishment. They have to be utterly terrified. Their life is in his hands.
Yeah, because their punishment so far has just been the blood guilt that's probably destroyed them to a certain degree, but now physical implications could come.
Yeah. And there is something that's kind of weird here. Like it's a little bit of a nod to the gospel. Like they are the ones who caused the brother suffering. The brother has risen to reign at the right hand of the God of Egypt. And now they're standing in front of him and they deserve utter wrath. And yet he's there thrilled at their transformation. Like his heart for them is just overwhelmed. It's weeping with joy at what they've become. And Joseph immediately asks, so he doesn't say, I'm Joseph, here's your punishment. The first thing that he says is my father still alive? Why is that weird? What does that reveal? I mean, they've been talking about the father the first visit, the second visit, like every time they come, even in the last thing. What was Judas' thing? I don't want to go back home. Why? Without Benjamin, because my father would be utterly decimated, and I can't see that. So all over the place, they're like, father's still alive, father's still alive, father's still alive. His first question, he's like, I'm Joseph. Is my father still alive? What does that reveal?
Why does he not know that?
I don't trust you. Like, are you for real? Oh. Like, is he really alive? I mean, I almost imagine him asking it that way, but his brothers could not answer him.
Yeah, I guess because they've only talked about the father when they're pleading for their life at this moment on this journey. So it is like, okay, you're safe now.
Yeah.
Is he actually alive, or was that just a ploy?
Yeah. You've shown me Benjamin. I get it.
That makes sense.
Is he still alive? Or like, is he still over Benjamin? Is everything still okay? And they're just like, like they're absolutely tongue-tied, terrified. And so verse 4, it says, so Joseph said to his brothers, come near to me, please. What does that suggest? He says, one, they're far away because they're detestable from the Egyptian rulership. Like the scriptures have told us that. But I think also, like, what's their posture? When he says, I'm Joseph.
I would be on my heels if I was them.
Yeah.
I'd be looking for the exit route.
So they're drifting back. And Joseph is like, come near to me, please. Like, you can trust me. I'm safe. I know what you've done. Come near to me, please. And they came near, and he said, I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. So in this, Joseph is calling them closer while also acknowledging, you really messed me up, dude. Like, I've forgiven you. I've obviously not killed you. Now's this moment where it's like the reconciliation is happening and we're moving toward restoration. But before we can get there, I have to call out, like, you sold me and I'm still calling you near, right?
Yeah, they haven't acknowledged the sin yet.
Well, they have, like, but not to him.
Not personally.
Yeah, they've acknowledged, like, maybe God is punishing us because of what we did to him, but it's never been like, Joseph, like, we did this to you.
Yeah, this is the relational part of, like, we do have to talk about this.
Yeah, and this is one of the things, like, the blind forgiveness and pretending like you can restore a relationship without discussing this. Like, imagine if Joseph was like, we're good, and this never came up.
I'd be waiting for the day that we're not good.
Correct. Like the only way that you get authentic freedom and restoration is when you discuss it. And the person that's been offended is like, I know what you did. I'm naming what you did. I'm good with you. I want to be near you. Right? Because that says to the other person, it's not like I'm hiding a hammer that I'm ready to smash you with. Like I'm calling out the wound. Like this really hurt. And yet I want you near to me. And so like if he never addressed the issue or the elephant in the room, there's never any reconciliation.
Yeah.
And so like we should never try to do that. But here I have a famous quotation from you. When I was reading through a commentary, I saw this and I'm like, is that right? Like, is this Christian? Ready? This is from an atheistic philosopher named Thomas Zaz.
So then, no, it's not Christian.
Well, atheists can stumble on truth.
Okay.
All truth is God's truth. He says this, the stupid, so sorry for the language if that's a bad word in your home, but the stupid neither forgive nor forget.
Okay.
Okay?
Tracking.
The naive forgive and forget. The wise forgive but do not forget. Parse that out. Is that true?
I like the first one.
Stupid neither forgive nor forget.
Stupid not to forgive because it's just you're drinking your own poison and unforgiveness. So
right.
Let's not be stupid.
The naive forgive and forget.
That's closer, but my problem with all this is the word forget.
Yeah.
I think people
I agree.
I think that's very popular. Like, I'll forgive you, but I'll never forget this. Or I just forgive and forget and it doesn't matter anymore. But I don't think either of those are right. I think there's a beauty to the naive to forget when people have wronged you. Mm-hmm. Like, I would love to actually be able to fully forget everyone that's caused me harm.
Me too.
I would pay a lot of money right now for that in this moment. But I think the wise forgive, and here's the Christian caveat, and remember, but keep no record of wrongs.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. Like, you don't find sin and where somebody's like, oh, I have no record of you, but they don't hold it as a weapon. Like if you're keeping a record of wrongs so that you can pull out their actions in the future and rub their face in it, then you've never truly pardoned them. You've never really. So when the Bible, like when it describes love in 1 Corinthians 13, love keeps no record of wrongs. It might not be that you forget, because it would be kind of foolish if somebody's wronged you in a particular way to like put yourself out there again in the same exact way that's going to provoke their temptations that might result in the same thing. So you learn from it, and in that sense, you don't forget it. But at the same time, you don't sit there and go, boy, if they do this, I'm going to pull out. I've got this perfect weapon to just smash them right in the face. And you're not looking to weaponize their sin. In that sense, you need to let it go.
And I think if you can do it like Joseph, and if I brought up every wrong you've ever done to me, Sam, but at the end of it, I was able to say, but I see how God was working for my good, even in what I thought you were doing was evil in that moment. And that's hard to do. So I don't know how often that works out.
How many bad things have I done to you? Good grief.
Yeah, you're a bad one to choose. I thought you were a safe one because you haven't inflicted much harm.
But with that, it's like I recognize that God meant this, and I want you near to me. Like he says, come near to me, please. You're the ones who sold me into Egypt. It's like, wait, what? Yeah. Come near to me so you can punch me? No, that's not what he's getting at. And that is the beautiful thing of Christianity. That's the turn the other cheek, like in the ancient world, kissing both sides of the cheek. You strike one, but you still never give up on the hope that maybe I'll get a kiss on the other. Like it perseveres with the hope of a restored relationship. So in that sense, you have to define your terms, but I get where that quote's coming from. Verse 5. All right. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves, which is just like, this is what he's concerned about.
Yeah, he's concerned about them.
Yeah. Don't be too hard on yourself. I only had to endure prison and slavery and misery and forsakenness and, the loss of my family and all of these things, the loss of years with my dad, who I hope is still alive. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up over this. Like, who does this?
And the word angry, like if they're angry about this, then they're the problem.
But he's like, with yourselves.
Yeah.
Don't be angry with yourselves, right? Because you sold me here, right? So he names it. He's like, there's a real reason why you could be distressed or angry with yourselves, because you did some really bad stuff. But his concern is like, I don't want you to be sunk by this. For God sent me before you to preserve life.
It's why you sold me here is for God to preserve life.
Yeah. So go back in your own registry and think about somebody that's wronged you that ultimately God used to bring some other blessing into your life. Could you stand before the person who wronged you today and say, you know what, like you really hurt me, but God used it for good. And so draw near to me. You're forgiven.
I mean, it'd be weird, but it'd be awesome.
Right? That's power. That's powerful. He says, for the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest.
And they don't know that.
They have no idea. They have, I mean, so now they're seeing, okay, this guy who had dreams, who was prophetic about the future, is now telling us like he knows how long this famine is going to be. So they're just sitting there in utter shock. They still haven't spoken. Like, how in the world does Joseph know this stuff? Maybe, oh my goodness, those dreams, like maybe he really did have special insights from God. Maybe God was revealing things to him. You know, maybe those childhood dreams are coming true. Oh my goodness, we did bow before him. Now, like you imagine, like in my mind's eye, it doesn't tell us all this, but in my mind's eye, they're sitting there going, we got this really wrong all along the way. He is the real deal. And so he says, and God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to keep alive for you many survivors. And I was thinking about this when we were prepping for this podcast. Like, it's the first time this has ever dawned on me going through this story. But Joseph, what were they so jealous of Joseph for? I mean, he gets the coat, but they're really the favor. Like he gets these dreams. We're going to bow down to him. And here Joseph is saying, do you want to know why I got those dreams? Do you want to know the reason why God said that one day I would be exalted? And by the way, it was after a long train of suffering. So it wasn't just easy exaltation. I didn't get this position until more than a decade of misery and hardship and prison and slavery. Do you want to know why God gave me those dreams, why I would be exalted? Listen to what he says again. God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, which now, if the way Joseph's interpreting, why did God give him those dreams?
For them.
For them. And they've been living in the resentment of, you got the dreams. You say we're going to bow down to you. You know, like this bitterness is building in them. Joseph is like, you realize those dreams, this whole thing was so God could bless you. So now like their hardness toward God, oh my goodness. I mean, it's the same thing in Christianity. Like one of the passages in Philippians that says, you know, it's prophetic. Every knee will bow to Jesus, right? Every tongue will confess. Now, that doesn't mean they're all going to heaven. There's two sides of that coin. Some are going to bow out of total fear and like, oh my goodness, look who he is. I can't even help it. Fall on my face. And others will bow in reverence and worship. But everyone is going to bow. And there's something in the human nature that when you hear that, one of the most objectionable things that you can say is, I'm going to give some level of honor against my own volition, right? That's what the Bible says is going to happen someday with Jesus. Every knee will bow, if you want to or not. Every knee will bow. And here's the irony. Jesus is the Joseph in this story, right? Why is he being exalted after a long train of suffering that he had to go through? Why?
For everyone else.
Yeah. You want to know why that prophecy exists? For you. Because the exalted one is exalted so that he can make you safe. Just like Joseph here, right? Joseph is going through all this stuff. And now he's the only one on earth that can save them from certain death. He's the only one that can save them from the judgment of the famine, right? And he is exalted to what end? To rescue them. What has Jesus done? He's exalted after suffering purely for our good. He didn't need to come down here at all. He goes through it for us, which is kind of wild. You think Sola Deo Gloria, like all glory to Jesus. He's the only hero. What does he do with all that glory?
Gives it away.
Shares it. Yeah, this was for you. Because to make my joy complete, I need you with me. I love you that much. That's crazy in this story that Joseph is like, all this exaltation I have came to me from God for you.
That is true. The brothers do get exalted to a great place.
Yeah.
And they didn't go through the same suffering that Joseph did.
We're the brothers.
I know. It's just wild to think about.
We're the brothers. And that's the heart of God. Like when you see this story play out, it's like, oh my goodness, like the one who deserves all the glory is setting it aside saying, no, God did this for you. That's just, that hit me in a wild way. And so God in this is saying, he's keeping you alive for many survivors. He's making you a remnant on the earth. God always preserves his people, even through the hardest of times. Christianity will never be defeated, ultimately wins in the end. No matter how hard pressed, there will always be a remnant preserved, always. So verse 8, so it was not you. Now this is where we get into like this is mind bending. So it was not you, my brothers, who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh and Lord of all his house and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Now, what do you do here with this this line?
How do you make it work?
Yeah, God did. What?
Yeah, both. Yeah.
So this is where Joseph, and I think this is helpful for us, this is where Joseph lands really hard and heavier on God's sovereignty over the free will of man, because they did sell him here.
They physically did. They were the hands that did it.
Their actions were responsible for this. And yet God is the one who ultimately steered him to this point. And it's like, well, what? Like, I mean, it kind of bursts your brain. But this is what the Bible requires. God is not culpable or responsible for sin, yet he is entirely sovereign over outcomes. He has written a story in advance. And so, like, this is where your brain has to go. Like, Micah prophesies that Jesus would be born in Bethlehem, yet Caesar chooses to announce a census that made that possible. What? How? Who? What? Who's moving first?
Who's
here?
in charge here?
Jesus tells Peter that he'll deny him 3 times. Peter chose those actions.
And he said, I will never.
Yeah. Never. Absolutely not. Jesus announced that he'd be betrayed. Judas chose those actions. God told Abraham that his descendants would be enslaved in Egypt, yet they chose to stay in Egypt when the famines were done. Here's one. Acts 2, right? This is Peter giving his sermon. Think about this, because Peter gets this, and it's where we have to land, and it's a mystery, and my brain can't make sense of it. But Acts 2:23 says this. He's talking to the crowds and even the religious leaders mingled among them, and he says, this Jesus delivered up according to the definite plan and foreknowledge of God, right? So God's plans and foreknowledge, you crucified and killed by the hands of lawless men. So who did it? The lawless men.
Yeah.
And yet, entirely according to the plan of God. So there is a mystery of sovereignty and free will that are working together. And as Christians, where do you ultimately have to land? Which side of the scales has got to be more important?
The sovereignty of God.
Sovereignty of God. It's the only way you can deal with the wicked schemes of men and have any sanity. Like, okay, God is in this. God will make something good out of this. And Spurgeon says this. He says, how wonderfully these two things meet in practical harmony. The free will of man and the predestination of God. Man acts just as freely and just as guiltily as if there were no predestination whatsoever, and God ordains, arranges, supervises, and overrules just as accurately as if there were no free will in the universe. And somehow that mystery holds. I don't get it, but it's amazing.
Yeah, thank goodness for it, or else, like you said, like, if I'm looking at all the wrong in the world, then that's just too much for me to handle. If there's not someone who's above it all that is ordaining all things.
Yeah, you can't trust it to anything. It's just total chaos. Total chaos and random miseries.
Which is why there's so much fear in our current world.
Yeah.
Because with all the rejection of God, with God, I feel overwhelmed at times. So with the rejection of, hey, I don't know if this ends well, that would just be a...
right? Like, it would be hard. All the mental health issues make sense and why they're rampant and climbing and skyrocketing. Like, how do you deal with that if you don't believe that good wins, if you don't believe in a higher power that ultimately ordains and that there's a reason behind everything?
Like, not just feigning optimism.
Yeah, right. Like, it would be too much. It would be rough. So verse 9, here you get back to the heart of Joseph, and he looks at them and says, hurry and go up to my father and say to him, Thus says your son Joseph, God has made me Lord of all of Egypt. Come down to me. Do not tarry. What do you sense there? There's like a big urgency. Notice it? Hurry. Go down to my father. And when you meet him, tell him I'm alive. Tell him not to tarry, which means to like dilly-dally, waste time. Like, I want him here as soon as possible. And so like Joseph has been like, man, I've had 22 years without him. I've gone through it. I cannot wait another minute to be reunited with my dad. I need to see him. Let's get this moving.
And there are faster ways to do that.
Yeah.
So you do have to realize that Joseph is doing something for his brothers. Because it would have been easier just to be like, hey, I heard my dad's alive. Let me go down there and reveal myself and cause more family dysfunction.
Yeah.
But it feels like he's doing the proper way for the brothers also to be reconciled to their father and all this.
That's it.
It's like it's really class. I mean, obviously very Christ-like, but a real classy way to go about all this.
But if you're looking at the brothers, like, you're going to have to go home and tell dad I'm alive. Yeah, like, imagine that conversation. We've been lying to you for the last 22 years. He's alive.
I think the joy outweighs any fear.
That's what we're going to see.
I would be okay with telling that to my dad if I know, like, this is going to work.
I'd have Joseph, like, he seems to know what's going on, right? But then here's the other part of that, like practical application for a gospel moment. What he's like is, you have this good news that the son is not dead. He is alive, and there's salvation and life with him. Sound familiar? Don't waste a minute. You have this good news to go down to somebody who's in deep mourning, who said, I'm going to go down to the grave and mourning and pain. Don't waste another minute. Share that good news that the son is alive and he is waiting for you, and he is going to welcome you into his arms, and he's going to give you life, and all the joy that you've lost over these last 2 decades is going to be restored to you. Do not waste a minute. Get that word out as soon as you can. That's the heart of Jesus. That's the heart of Joseph. Like, that should be our heart. Like, we have this very same news to take to a world that's in deep mourning.
Yeah.
I wish I felt more of that urgency, because that's the only thing that can take the pain away, right? So this good news, right? And the famine's only going to get worse. The dangers are only going to get more extreme. It's like, I want him here with me. I can keep him safe.
Yeah. There's also a logistical element to this. Like, let's get out of the territory that doesn't have food.
The longer this thing goes, the more desperate people are going to get, the deeper into poverty they're driven. He's like, get him here quick. Verse 11, there I will provide for you. Can you imagine being the brothers hearing this? Like, I got you. Like, I'm going to take care of your needs. I know you've watched the family wealth all dissipate, and you've probably had to slaughter all the herds, and, you know, the servants have been dismissed because you couldn't feed them. All this stuff. You've watched, like, how in the world are we going to make this? I got you. For there are yet 5 years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all that you have do not come to poverty. Like, you're not going to be zeroed out. The legacy of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is not going to be erased. And so he is like, I got you. And it's interesting to think, like, how poor, how close were they? We don't know, but I'm guessing it was getting there. And so he says, now your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see. So these two camps, right? The 10 brothers have their loyalties, and well, now I've got Benjamin too who sees. Because when you go back to dad, is he going to listen to the 10? Maybe. Is he going to listen to Benjamin? Yes, Benjamin sees this too. Like, when you go back to dad, the witnesses are all going to agree that it is my mouth that speaks to you. You must tell my father of all my honor in Egypt and all that you've seen. Hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept. And Benjamin wept upon his neck. You see what that means, why they use that language in the ancient world. Fall upon the neck. You see that a lot in ancient literature, but it's like, if I go to hug somebody, where's your head? Your necks are almost like intertwined. You fall upon the neck. So this is like an embrace, weeping.
And how much did Benjamin know about was Benjamin, like, when Joseph's betrayed, like, Benjamin's learning, like, oh,
yeah, he's in the
I'm
dark
learning
too.
about the bad stuff. The
Good point.
brothers who know the bad stuff are learning about the good stuff, and they're all like, I have half a story here. And now they're like, now your eyes see too. Like,
Yeah.
not just physically.
And we don't know how old Benjamin was when all this went down, but he's clearly old enough to either he's remembering, like, I miss my older brother. So maybe he's, 10 or 12 when Joseph's 17 and gets betrayed.
Yeah.
But he's sobbing too. Or maybe he's heard from dad. We don't know. And so then after this, so Benjamin, they have their embrace. And then it says in verse 15, and he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. So this isn't just like I've got to do the right thing. So you know what, I'll take care of you, even though you dirtballs, he's sobbing on them.
Yeah, and them individually too. It's not just because I'm okay with dad, I'm okay with Benjamin, so I'll just, you guys can just tag along.
So imagine him hearing from down in the cistern, Judas say, let's sell him, and all the conversations and the crying and the weeping and everything. Those are the last memories he has of his brothers. And now he's weeping on all of them and kissing all of his brothers, right? And they still haven't spoken a word, by the way. They're like, like what do you say here? And after that, his brothers talked with him. So it required I'm Joseph. Don't walk away from me. I know what you did, all that. And then it's through the tears that they're like, oh my God. And then the weeping and the falling upon, they're like, oh my gosh, like he loves us.
Yeah,
It's
legit.
And I think that is going to go to work in transforming them.
And as long as this story is, why can't they tell us what they talked about there? It's such a biblical Bible thing to be like, just give us that.
Yeah. I think it probably, maybe so we can import our own stories there a little bit, maybe. Like, this would be a beautiful moment. Like, forgiveness and reconciliation and restoration is such a beautiful thing when it happens. So verse 16, it says, when the report was heard in Pharaoh's house, Joseph's brothers have come. And they're like, well, they've been here a long time. Why didn't he say hi to them? Why was he so cold to them? Like, you ever wonder why they're like, well, that was weird. It's like, why was it so, why'd you hide yourself for so long from them? Never gives us that either. But they're like, Joseph's brothers have come, and it pleased Pharaoh and his servants, which means
they didn't know.
They had no idea. Joseph hasn't been walking around for these, years of his reign. So now he's in year 9 of his reign. He's never once said, stupid brothers. Do you know what happened to me? Do you know my victimhood story that I blame everything on now? And I'm just going to sit around and wallow? Here? Yeah. None of that. He protects their reputation, never slanders. Well, I guess it's not even slanders, but never like ruins their name or tarnishes their name. He's always hoping that there's the possibility they'll be restored, which is just incredible godliness. And so never goes after Potiphar, never goes after Potiphar's wife, never seeks vengeance. Like he's pretty incredible. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your beasts, go back to the land of Canaan. So now Pharaoh's involved, and he's like, oh, your friends, your brothers of Joseph? Well, let me show you how much I love Joseph. Boom, here, load all these beasts, go back to the land of Canaan. I want you to take your father and your households and come to me. Like, I'm going to do this. And I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you shall eat the fat of the land. The very, very, very best, most expensive properties in Egypt, they're yours. The best farmlands, all of it, it's yours. And so Pharaoh is so enamored with Joseph that he's like, absolutely, like it's yours. And here's something cool. Like, you go back to this time period, one of the viziers, which is like a high-ranking official in Egypt, writes this about the shift in political policy. He says that that Egypt had begun to impoverish his associates for the benefit of others. So that means like countrymen. So all of a sudden, at this point in Egyptian history, this guy named Kedi writes that Pharaoh had begun impoverishing his associates, his countrymen, for the benefit of others, which is kind of interesting, right? Gives them the best part of the land. What happens to the Egyptians? They're selling all their stuff and becoming poor. It's interesting that mashes up. But verse 19, and you, Joseph, are commanded to say, do this. Take wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father and come. So wagons for all the grandkids. Wagons for all the wives. I mean, it's like so much wealth is on there just for them to turn around and come back home. But this is like a statement. You have no idea the path of blessing that is coming to you. Bring your father and come, and have no concern for your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. And the literal, I like the literal here. When it says have no concern for your goods, it says let not your eye pity your goods. In other words, like, you're going to have to leave this land behind.
Going to be sad as you look at it.
Garbage compared to what you're walking toward, which, like, that's the Christian story too, by the way. You know, all these present sufferings are not worthy to be compared to the glory that's going to be revealed in you. Like, you should have no problem saying, hey, this world and everything that it offers to me can't compare to what God offers me. Like, that's Pharaoh's heart here. He's like, you're leaving Canaan? Garbage compared to Goshen of what I'm offering you. And all the wealth that you're going to inherit. So they come, and the sons of Israel did so. And Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh and gave them provisions for the journey. So notice that. He's not saying stay down there another year or two, right? Provisions for the journey. Each and every one of them, he gave a change of clothes. So they're going to go home. This is interesting. How did Joseph walk away? With his robe torn and bloodied and given to Jacob. Now all the brothers are suddenly coming home in Egypt's finest linens, which is like, that's the place where the finest linens came from, even now still. They're coming home with a change of clothes. So it's like the one who was sold down into the land of death, whose coat was bloodied, has now made it. So they are going back to the father with absolutely clean, beautiful garments on.
Yeah, they took from Joseph. Joseph gives to them.
That's right. And that's, again, pointing you to gospel patterns. But to Benjamin, he gave 300 shekels of silver. This is a good bit of wealth, like years of wages right there. And 5 changes of clothing. Huge, super wealthy gift. And to his father, he sent as follows: 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt, so all the best treasures and delicacies and everything else. 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, provision for their father on the journey. Jacob is wanting them to show up. And it's like, okay, if you don't believe your sons, there's no way to explain this. Like,
yeah, it's a little much, but I get it. Because they're just taking the donkeys down there to take them back.
Yeah, and now we're coming back with all this stuff.
So,
yeah, let's make you a target on the way. So verse 24, then he sent his brothers away, and as they departed, he said to them, and I love this, don't quarrel on the way. So it's like, there's so many patterns of what Jesus does for us. So Jesus makes peace, right? He comes and makes peace between him and us and between God and us. And then he says, okay, because of what just happened, don't quarrel. Like, do you see how beautiful mercy and grace and love and selflessness feels? Do you feel this moment? Like, do you see what you've received? Don't worry about the small stuff. Like, don't go along quarreling. Please don't do this. Like, don't destroy the family again. It's not worth it.
Yeah, like, let yourselves off the hook first, and then look at each other and also let each other off the hook.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what we need from people too. Like, I need people to like tell Will to let himself off the hook, but also I need other people coming like doing that as well.
Yeah. So all those ways that I wronged you.
Yes. Sam, you can make up for them after this podcast is over.
So anyway, verse 25. So they went up out of Egypt and came to the land of Canaan and their father Jacob. So this has got to be an interesting moment. And they told him, Joseph is still alive. Gulp. And he's ruler over all the land of Egypt. Now, if you're Jacob and you're processing this, and you're like, you brought me a bloody coat. You led me to believe that he was devoured by animals. Now you're telling me that he's alive and he's ruler over all the lands of Egypt. Well, you're lying somewhere. In either case, like, if either one, like, this is devastating. And his heart became numb, for he did not believe them. And if you're Jacob and you've been in mourning for 22 years, this would be a hard thing to believe.
Sure.
What do you mean he's in power? How? Like, what? This would be crazy to hear.
Well, just too much. It's not just that he's alive, but that he's ascended pretty much to the throne of Egypt.
Yeah, the whole thing.
I mean, those are two fabrications. Yeah.
Sure, guys. This is just cruelty. Why would you say this to me? And so the animosity during all those years with the sons only got worse, right? So that the relationships between them are so broken to where you have Jacob, saying in this whole exchange, earlier, I only have one remaining son. Like, this is a utterly dysfunctional, and he's like, I don't believe you. And then when they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said to them, and when he saw the wagons, there it is, that Joseph had sent to carry him, good thing he sent the wagons, the spirit of his father Jacob revived. What does that mean? Like, literally, like his soul came to life again.
He's back.
Yep. When he gets news that the son is alive, he's back, right? And he sees all of them in new garments. And so Israel, notice the name change there? He's back. He's back, baby. And Israel said, it's enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive, and I will go see him before I die. Now, the Hebrew word that's translated enough there, it's so inadequate in the English, like, because it sounds like, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, you know, it sounds like just hitting the bar.
But it's literally 195 times in the Bible, that word is translated as many. 98 times it's great, 37 it's multitude, 29 times it's much, 6 times it's enough. So rarely is it ever translated enough, and I don't think it should be enough here. Because what he means to say here is it's overwhelming. Yeah. It's overflowing. I feel so incredibly blessed to know that my son is alive, that I don't care about anything else. All the lies, all the pain, all the heartache, everything that I have. My record of wrongs, if I wanted to prosecute a case to you, if I wanted to come down on you, if I wanted to shame you, if I wanted to just hurl insults at you and disown you as my sons, all of that is wiped away, because it is so utterly overwhelming to know that my son lives that I don't care about anything else. Yes. Forgiveness immediately, reconciliation immediately. The joy just overflows, and Jacob has this radical and sudden transformation from mourning to joy. He has a sudden and radical transformation of the father of only my Benjamin, to where now everything has come back to life. And it happens like that. Yes. Because he got news that the son's still alive. Like, it's just amazing. Like, how do you translate that into your life? Like, you have just learned, when you get the gospel, it's not just, an intellectual thing. Jesus died on a cross 2,000 years ago, rose from the dead, and someday, resurrection power, da-da-da.
And I'm good. Yeah.
Right? Like, in this moment, Jacob is like, my whole life, everything I lost is coming back to me in this moment, just by knowing this one thing is true. Sure. In the gospel, you are confronted with the reality that everything that you count as loss is coming back to you. Everything that you mourn, everything you're bitter about is going to be undone because the son's alive. You enter into that story, feel that joy, allow that to then, why we were so loved and everything else. Now we're so loving. It just overflows from us when we believe this deep in our bones. But we need to believe it deep in our bones. We need to preach this to ourselves all the time.
And I think that's what's cool about how God speaks to us, because God obviously uses scripture to do this, the actual gospel story. He uses other stories in scripture to do this, like Joseph. Like, going through this has been really great because we get to hone in on things like that. But also, you just look around at the reminders of like all the stories that have been created that they also show this theme. Mm-hmm. It's one of those ones where you just like watch a movie and you're like, hey, wait, if I fill in other characters, we're just talking about Jesus and me, so it's one of those ones where like, that is really powerful. We need so many reminders, and God knows that, and he gives that to us. Yeah. And he shows it to us in different ways. So it's like, okay, if this didn't show it to you, okay, what about this one?
Yeah, this story is so written on the human heart. It's like, you hear this story and it's like, there it is. This is the beautiful story. Yeah. And it's all pointing to Jesus. And so we're gonna go through a little bit of 36 as well. We're gonna skip the genealogy part. Sorry for genealogy nerds out there. You
guys can rate yourselves.
Yeah, that's right. It's true. So I wouldn't have much to say about it. So, yep, there's some names. So verse 1, it says, so Israel took the journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba. So it's like he goes from where he is, he packs up everything. He's on the journey. He comes to Beersheba, stops in his tracks. And there he offered sacrifices to the God of his father, Isaac, right? So it's like he's saying, I want to go. I'm ready. I'm all packed up. I've come to the boundary. I'm right at the gate of the territory where you've told me I'm allowed to be. And then verse 2, God comes and meets him there after he offers a sacrifice. It says, God spoke to Israel, Jacob, in visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. Don't you love that? Speaks to Israel, says, Jacob, Jacob.
Yeah, Moses was just having fun now.
And he said, here I am. Then he said, I am God. I'm the God of your father. Don't be afraid to go down to Egypt. For there I will make you into a great nation. Why do you think he had to say that? We mentioned it before, but in a different episode. But why does he have to say, don't be afraid to go down to Egypt?
Because they have been told to be afraid to go down to Egypt unless God specifically says, go down to Egypt.
Yep. So one, you've got Abraham and Isaac going before him. When they go down, when Abraham goes down to Egypt, not good. God tells Isaac, do not go down to Egypt. But for Jacob personally, what happens when he goes outside of the land that God has told him to be?
Terrible things.
His family falls apart. Like horrible things. And so like now he's at Beersheba being like, I'm about to leave the land again. I'm not taking another step until I hear from God saying, don't be afraid to go down to Egypt. I need permission. I'm not leaving your will. Even though the best news in the world is out there and this all seems true and I desperately want to get to Joseph, your command is still more important. I'm not leaving until you tell me it's okay to leave. Dang, like now we got an obedient Jacob who's like all the idols. Remember, Joseph is the idol of his life. And now he's saying, okay, God, I'm not moving another step.
If you say so.
If you say so. Who is this guy? Like you see all these characters that are flawed, that have all this mess, and all of their flaws are starting to melt away in the middle of this great redemptive moment.
I mean, that's a good life lesson. I mean, because I mostly go to God when I think the plan's not good.
Right.
I don't know how else to say that. But if a really good plan comes to me in this life, whether it's work-wise or family-wise or whatever, I think most of the time just like,
all right,
awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do this. But to even check with God with that stuff is a step of maturing.
Yeah. Am I allowed to walk toward this blessing? I'm not going to take a step, even though everything seems like a rosy path, like it is Egypt. So I'm going to need your permission. For there, and he says, don't be afraid to go to Egypt, for there I will make you into a great nation. There it is. I myself will go down with you to Egypt, and I will bring you up again, and Joseph's hand shall close your eyes. And so here you've got God announcing plans to use the time in Egypt to form a great nation, which you wonder if they had been on their own without the suffering in the promised land, would they have become the great nation, or would they have ventured off into the land of Canaanites and everything else? In Egypt, the suffering forges them into a people, right? It forges them into be like, we're the outcasts. We lean on each other till they grow massively. And God is going to even use that suffering for his glory. Verse 5, then Jacob set out from Beersheba. The sons of Israel carried Jacob, their father, their little ones, and their wives, and the wagons that Pharaoh had sent to carry him. They also took their livestock and their goods, which they had gained in the land of Canaan, so they still have some wealth. And they came to Egypt, Jacob and all his offspring with him, his sons' sons with him, so like all the grandkids, the daughters, the sons' daughters, all his offspring he brought with him into Egypt. Now these are the names of the descendants of Israel who came into Egypt with Jacob and his sons. So then you get this long genealogy, and we're going to pick back up at verse 27, back to the narrative. And the sons of Joseph who were born to him in Egypt were two. Remember, we were already told about Ephraim and Manasseh. All the persons of the house of Jacob who came into Egypt were 70. So they start with 70, and in 430 years, they're going to leave with 2 million-ish. He had sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to show the way before him in Goshen, and they came into the land of Goshen. Now, that's a little detail, but who does Jacob pick to be the family's emissary ambassador?
Judah.
This is already done in his mind. Judah has stood out. He now sees Judah as the heir apparent, and that's, I think, what's going on.
And he
here.
trusts Judah. Like, remember, he's like, I'm not sending Benjamin with you. Well, okay, that's restored now, too. Like, okay, I can trust you with this without any caveats for the first time in a long time, it seems.
And so they get the land of Goshen, which is in the northeastern side of the Nile Delta. It's where like lots of trade from foreigners would come. It's super fertile ground. It's the best land in Egypt. And then Joseph prepared his chariots and went up to meet Israel, his father, in Goshen. He presented himself to him and fell on his neck and wept on his neck a good while. I love that it gives us that little detail. He's just sobbing for a good while. 22 years. Nah, let's not let this end. Let's just sit here and weep a minute. And so Israel said to Joseph, oh, now let me die, since I have seen your face and know you are still alive. And for Jacob, this moment would enable him to just die a happy man. This is enough.
Yeah, I get the sentiment, but that's not the first thing you want to hear from dad as you feel like you move heaven and earth to get your dying dad there. And he's just like, oh.
No. So verse 31, coming in for a landing. Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I will go up and tell Pharaoh, and will say to him, my brothers and my father's household, who are in the land of Canaan, have come to me. And the men are shepherds, for they have been keepers of livestock. And they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. And when Pharaoh calls you and says, what's your occupation? You shall say, oh, your servants have been keepers of livestock from our youth even until now, both we and our fathers, in order that you may dwell. And he's like, why do you say that? In order that you may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. So when Pharaoh hears a group of shepherds, like, because we consider them defiled, shepherds are gross, that continues even into Jesus's era. Like foreigners who see nothing wrong with it, good, give them the role, because being a shepherd is abominable to us. And so they're like, sweet deal. Like, we got it. We got the best part of the land. And here's something we also know from Egyptian records. We see this written about in, what's the Pharaoh's name? Yeah, it's the one who conquers the Hyksos. Anyway, I can't remember. But he comes along, and then Kamos the first.
That's what I was thinking.
You're welcome.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
So, but he says they take care of all of our cattle. So even hundreds of years later, the pharaohs of the south had the people up in Goshen and the Nile Delta taking care of all their cattle. We know that for sure from Egyptian history. So that continues. And so they're set up. Like, God has engineered this whole thing to be just like a homecoming for them. And here you see the suffering son who's betrayed for silver by Judah, who goes down to the land of death and is imprisoned between two people, and one's restored and one's condemned, and he gets false accusations and all that stuff, and he's stripped of his clothing. All those things that echo Jesus. What was it all for? It was so that he, from that point, could then be exalted to the right hand of the Most High Power, and use that power for what? To prepare a place for them. Sound familiar? I go to prepare a place for you. That's the promise to us. And to clothe them with the finest of garments, and to redeem them and restore them, and bring the Father back into relationship with them in a severed relationship because of their wickedness. Like, everything's redeemed, and you're like, man, this is the gospel.
Yeah.
That's amazing that God is preaching that story 1,800 years before Jesus is even born. And so we see so much joy in forgiveness that we release those who've hurt us. We see so much joy to find urgency in telling other people the good news. And we see the favored son that we thought was still dead that's now alive, and he's reigning, and we find life in him. And by the way, why did God ordain that he would be exalted? For our good.
Yeah.
Those dreams, those prophecies, they're good for us too. We bow the knee because he's worthy of it.
Yeah.
And because our life is found in him. And he doesn't get that exaltation easily. He went through a long road of suffering to make life an eternal inheritance, an eternal place for us to rest, to make that possible for us. And we should be eager to bow the knee that God has sovereignly written that story for us. It's a good God.
Yeah, he is.
So we're going to stop there. We'll pick up with Genesis chapter 47 next time. I want to thank you so much for watching. God bless.